Well, the World Economic Forum, ahead of its meeting in Davos next week, is out with its Global Risks Report for 2023 and explores some of the most severe risks we may face over the next decade, which, according to WEF, will be characterized by environmental and societal crises driven by geopolitical and economic trends. Topping the list for global risk over the next 2 years, the cost of living crisis, and then for the next decade, climate change marked by biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. And Saz and I are paying particular attention to this because we will be going to Davos next week, and this will be definitely part of the conversation there. And there's always sort of multi-track conversations there. You have the discussion of these big, heady ideas and how various global players can solve them, and the people there are a combination of world leaders and corporate leaders and nonprofits. Then you have the sort of what's going on in the economy right now, which is a big topic of conversation. And then you have the various individual interests, if you will, deal making, networking, and the like that go on there.
Yeah, some of these risks here are just, eye-opening. Not surprising, I should say. But wow, to your point, first one, short-term cost of living crisis. Next, natural disasters and extreme weather events, short-term risk. We've seen a lot of storm activity, of course, pick up in this country the past 2 years. And number three, geoeconomic confrontation. But to your point, Julie, so these will be some of the topics that we'll be talking about. All the executives we have on tap next week at Yahoo Finance while we're on the ground there. But also general observations too. Last spring when we went, big presence for cryptocurrencies. A lot of huts, a lot of places down there, a lot of cryptocurrency executives. Are they still on the ground this year? If so, how many? What does that contingent look like? What is their presence? What is their future outlook for this crypto industry in the wake of FTX? Very, very important there as well. And of course, I think inflation and the outlook for interest rates will be top of mind with every single person we talk to.
It's interesting, some of the topics that have also now made their way into the survey that goes ahead of World Economic Forum, talking about some increasing efforts around artificial intelligence, or at least risk mitigation around artificial intelligence. That's been kind of present conversation with ChatGPT most recently, and making its way into the household kind of dinner table conversation even. But you think about space exploitation, cross-border cyber attacks, misinformation, all of this now making its way into the survey. So it'll be interesting to hear within each of those conversations and the interviews that are done on site by you guys, exactly where executives are ranking that within some of their own priorities too.
And it might be good to bring back up the state of the world's infrastructure in light of what we saw with Southwest, light of what we saw today with FAA. That discussion was really had about 2 or 3 years ago at the World Economic Forum. Didn't happen when we went last year, but should we be asking executives about this? What is the state of the global infrastructure in light of these attacks? And it's not just bridges and roads, it's software.
Yeah, definitely. And widespread cybercrime and cyber insecurity is also on this list, both as a short-term and longer-term risk. To bring it back to the cost of living crisis, I think that intersects with so many other themes we've talked about, including the inflation situation. And, when you think of Davos and these, in many cases, millionaire and billionaire executives who are there, who are sort of divorced from the day-to-day cost of living challenges that, we talk about people in the U.S. all the time paying more for eggs and everything. Forget about the U.S. What about the rest of the world, where cost of living is a matter of survival in many cases, and we have seen the cost of living go up.
And Fed rate hikes don't change that overnight, if at all.
Right.
This inflation stays with them.
Well, and also because you do still have the Russia-Ukraine war, for example. You do still have China sort of gradually reopening. And so all of that affecting food supplies around the world, still the ripple effects of that occurring. So there's going to be a lot to talk about next week.
Perhaps some of those millionaires and billionaires could benefit from the cost management household strategy of Cardi B. She was monitoring everything that is spent in her household.
Well, we'll ask about that.
They probably could, actually. Why don't we ask? That should be one of our questions for everyone. Do you subscribe to the School of Budget Management, the Cardi B School of Household Budget Management?
I just wrote that question down in my head. I'm going to put it to various executives that we're talking to. I can't give it away.